Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We'll unpack the experience, where they felt stuck, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others and finding possibility for yourself. Let's get into this week's conversation. All right, welcome back for, another just powerful episode of the Off the Comma podcast. I am really excited this week, coming to you from, where am I at this point in the journey? I'm in Phoenix this week. So for those of you who have been listening, I'm kind of traveling and exploring the world these days. And so I'm excited to be able to continue this work from the road. And so I'm excited for this week's episode because our guest, Nick, who I'm going to let introduce himself in a moment, is someone that I have not previously known. He and I met at a conference recently, a professional development conference. And I don't want to say more about that because I'll let him speak to that if it's relevant to his story. But we just hit it off, had a really cool conversation. And then ever since then, I've been blowing up his emails and, sending thoughts and ideas about things and picking his brain. But he had agreed to be a guest on the podcast. And so I'm very excited to get to know more about Nick through his story today and to hear what his story is about, and then obviously continue to be in touch with him through our professional relationship and circles. So I'm going to stop rambling at this point. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself. Feel free to start with, how would you like to be known? And then anything else you would like for folks to know about you.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Nicholas Foreman. I think the three things that I feel like I want people to know about me would be gritty, right? That's definitely
Mm,
a big word for me. It's like I think that's one of my strong characters is grit. I want to keep going. I want to keep pursuing. I want to keep trying. Another one is adventurous. I'm always about just taking that next adventure and learning more about the world and whatever kind of experience I'm involved in. Another one would be inquisitive. It's a funny thing. I
mm,
tried to put learner, but then that's not an adjective; it's a noun, right? And so
mm.
I've kind of found inquisitive as a way that I kind of see the world. I'm always, you know, trying to ask questions, like trying to be that investigator. How does this work? Why does it work? What makes people tick? Why do people do this? And so those are the kind of the big three that that makes describes me.
Cool. If I could jump in for just a moment, and,
Sure.
I will.
Yeah.
Gritty. First of all of these, it doesn't matter what I think about these descriptors of you because they're important for you, but the descriptors always resonate with me for every single guest. And gritty, I don't think I've gotten gritty yet, and that one just like is so descriptive, and I'm really looking forward to learn more about how that shows up in your story, and
Yeah.
learn more about what that means for you personally. So. Very cool. I hear, curious and kind of, uh, as you said, adventurous, like sort of not afraid to get out there and put yourself out there, it seems.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just like kind
Cool.
of doing this podcast, right? Just jumping in,
Good.
right?
Awesome. That's cool. What, Nick,
Yeah.
what else would you like to share with folks to help them learn a little bit more about you before we get into your story?
Yeah, so guys, my story is kind of, all over the place. I grew up in a restaurant business. My parents had a restaurant, and that was kind of the path that I was leading towards. Like, oh, I thought, I'm going to become a chef, going to culinary school. My parents kind of steered me away. They said, no, 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 you
Mm,
need to, go to college first. You don't want this life working, 7 days a week, holidays, birthdays, all that. You miss out. I was like, all right, I guess I'll go to college. So went the college route. Still had that heart for, cooking. So from college, I kind of fell in love with teaching, and so I actually taught English abroad. I lived in Spain,
mm.
China and Thailand, teaching English abroad, and that was a really awesome time. Kind of created my outlook on life. And after that, I came back to the States, and my goal was, all right, I'm gonna go keep going teaching. That's what I'm doing. But then I found my wife, and life took a turn, right? So I kind of made me settle down, and she's actually in medicine, right? And I would hear her stories from the ER, like all the different kind of cases that she had, and that
Mm.
piqued my interest to go into medicine. So I actually became a paramedic, and we lived in New York for a few years doing that. She was ER doc, I was a paramedic, and that was a great time. You know, that high adrenaline adventure. After we finished that, we came to the California, and I was still doing the paramedic route, but I feel like I missed something more. I missed traveling, right? And so I got into aviation, and I was a flight attendant. I did that for short time, and from that experience, I got into the cockpit where I went and I started going to the flight school and became an airline pilot. Um,
Mm.
and so just kind of took me all over the place. But having an airline pilot and an ER doc and three kids, it's a kind of a challenging lifestyle. So I actually went to the worked for the government, and now I'm working as an aviation safety inspector. Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like so cool always to hear, people's like life experiences and trajectories and so forth. And like you weren't kidding when you said adventurous, right? Like you didn't just put your toe and your feet and your hands in a lot of different professions, but like how many people I hear in my life talk, oh, I'd love to be a doctor, I'd love to be a pilot, I'd love to be this, I'd love to be that. And you're like, oh, what the hell? I'll just do all of them.
Yeah. I know my wife wouldn't what do you call it? I guess agree too much. She's always like, man, you're always doing different things. You're always changing, you know. And I always tell her
Mm,
like, not everybody can just, you know, uh, grow up and at 5 years old want to know that they want to be a doctor, right? Like that's what she told me.
mm-hmm,
Like at 5 years old, she's like, oh, I want to be a doctor, and that's all she did. And her whole life was pursue that. It's like, I mean,
mm-hmm.
not everyone can do that, right? So I don't know. I kind of think of life as like Baskin Robbins, right? Like 31 flavors, right? Try them all. So
Yeah. Well, and I think what's cool about that is like, I don't know. This is going to be an opinion of mine, editorializing, but the world I grew up in told us we had to pick one and do it and stay with it for the rest of our lives, and that's just one point of view, and that works really well for some people, and yet it doesn't work for other people. So it's like there's no what I love about the world that we're in today, despite all of its other challenges, is we're no longer limited by this belief that you have to conform to one thing, and so that is her trajectory and it worked for her and it aligns with what she wanted, and your
yeah,
trajectory has aligned with what you've wanted, which is let me try them all. What I'm curious about though, because I think many people who would be interested in even just one of those professions would be like, man, that's going to take a lot of work. And we're going to get to your story here in a second, I promise, but the curious question I have is, what is it about you that enabled you to learn all of those really uniquely different professions?
I guess it has to go to one of my adjectives that I say, right, is that grit, right? I mean, I growing up in the restaurant business, you had to kind of almost be a jack of all trades, right? Like one day I'm a dishwasher. Next day I'm a waiter. Next day I'm a manager, right? Oh, there's a water leak. Okay, fix it. Oh, the toilet's overflow. You have to kind of
Mm,
be able to adapt to all the possibilities that that could happen in a restaurant, right? And I don't know. I kind of feel like I had that growing up, right? And that in I can apply that same kind of feeling as I went to the professions. Like, oh, all right, I
hmm.
have to learn medicine. Okay, cool. Just learn medicine. Or now I got to learn how to aviation. Okay, do that education, right? So you kind of had to adapt always, right? And
Yeah.
be on the spot and be quick thinking and fix things. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like, I share with people sometimes, when I'm teaching classes and so forth, it's like you can prepare for the thing, being a doctor or being a flight attendant, or you can be prepared for many things, right? The ability to learn.
yeah,
So, and it seems like there's also, you tell me, I'll reflect things during our conversation. So if I misrepresent something, you got to tell me or push me back out, right?
mm,
It seems like in that, I've never said this before, but like the ability to reset.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah. No, that is pretty huge. It's like you have to, how do you say, like, yeah, reset yourself, right? Compartmentalize, reset, right? Where it's like, okay, you focus on this. All right, now let's go over here. And I think one thing too that, it comes to my mind, right, is that you almost have to kind of be really passionate, right? And almost like
mm,
just get super hyper focused and that's it. That's all you're gonna do. Like, okay, if I'm gonna learn about being a paramedic, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna live, breathe, and read, medicine. That's it. I'm gonna be a pilot. Okay, I'm gonna be the best pilot ever and just live and breathe. You have to almost be obsessive about it, right? Because,
mm-hmm.
you know, it's not easy, right? Like there's so many people in my, paramedic class dropped out. My pilot class, it dropped out. Like so many people drop out. You just have to really hyper focus and go all in, and that's it.
Yeah.
And get that grit, right? Like you really need that grit to just push you through. It doesn't matter, if something comes up, you gotta go.
Yeah. Well, and it's well, I want to acknowledge you for what I believe is a testament to your ability that you're describing, because in this world that we live in, focusing is like a commodity that few can afford. And so the ability to be able to do that is a cool thing. Nice. Well, let's jump in. I want to hear more about your story, and I'm sure all of these things are going to show up in your story and shape out in your story. Before we get into the 5 questions, Nick, one of the questions I ask every guest beforehand is, as you think ahead to say the next 40 minutes or so of our conversation, what intention would you have for yourself in the telling of your story today?
I guess the intention is to kind of be open, right? And not hold back, right? I feel like a lot of times in our life we're always afraid to speak our mind and to say what we want
Mm,
to say. And yeah, I want that, to kind of come out, right, in our conversation, that this can be a platform where we can just be free, vulnerable, right? Like,
mm,
yeah, I probably shared it with you before. Like, I always felt like, growing up, vulnerability was such a weakness. Like, oh, don't, as men, we have to be strong. Like, don't show weakness. But vulnerability is not a weakness; it's a strength, right? And
mm.
I want to lean into that more. And because if I want to be that man of, integrity and honor, I have to, lead with that. I have to show that.
Mm, mm. I love that. Yeah, my intention is to support you in that intention today and create the space for you to be able to tell your story, obviously. But that in the sharing of your story, there will be people out there who will see a little bit of themselves in you and your story. It will help them to feel a little bit more connected, a little less alone, and in the best of cases, feel empowered or inspired to go out and do something they've been wanting to do. Let's jump in then. So, the first question, Nick, is where in your life have you found yourself sitting on a comma?
I thought about this, right, question, and I thought like, oh man, I can remember, this time in my life, I can do that this time, that time, right? I could talk about these past experiences, right? But I can't get out of my head. It's like I feel like right now is, I'm sitting on that
Hmm.
comma right now, you know, um, and that comma right now is that what's next, right? That experience,
Hmm.
adventure in me is coming out, right? That grit, that inquisitiveness coming out of me. Kind of like what we're doing, right? Or this whole experience is where we met, right? At the coaching conference is I'm kind of exploring that area right now, where like I really want to start to help others. You know, I I joined this group called F3, which it stands for Fitness Fellowship and Faith, and
Hmm.
I joined it at a time where I was in the airlines. I got achieved the dream to like be an airline pilot, flying passengers, and right. It was just there. The year was 2022, and I was on top of the world. I felt like right, and when I started guessing about my the career, I was like, people were like telling me like, you're gonna leave? Like, why would you? Like, like the time that I went, it was like the top of the how do you say it? The top of the industry. Like everyone was hiring and salaries going up. We get the pilots pretty much could choose what they want to do, right? Because sometimes
Hmm.
with the aviation industry, it changes. Like, you get in this time, okay, pilots getting furloughed. You get in this time, pilots are kings, and you know, I felt like the time that I was in it was a perfect time. It was just like the height of the moment. And when I was leaving it, people were like, why would you leave? Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. And I stepped back because I wanted to be, have more of a relationship with my family because I felt like
Hmm.
I had the awesome job, the salary, but I was missing out on my family. So when I left that and I joined um the FAA, it was hard. And I found this group called I said called F3, and this group was awesome. It was a group basically. It's a group of that's a national organization all over the country. It's men that meet up and do workout groups, right? Small workout
Hmm.
groups, and we meet up 6 days a week, all throughout the area, and we work out. And it's very structured. Like we'll work out for 45 minutes, and after that, we'll do and have coffee, right? And when I first went out there, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just go for the workout. That, that's what I want. But what I started to realize, it wasn't the workout that kept me going. It was actually the fellowship, hanging out with the other men. And from those conversations I had with the men, I could see that it wasn't just me that was, I guess having a hard time with, with life, right? It was other men too as well. And I could see that there was a need for men to just be vulnerable, right? I see like a huge male loneliness epidemic going on,
Hmm.
and I want to I guess help others, right? And so that's where I feel like I'm at the comma. It's like I got this career going. It's almost like they call it the golden handcuffs, right? It's like, okay, I got the career, I got the pension, I got retirement, insurance. Am I gonna leave that to start this, this new kind of area, right? And
Hmm.
so that's where I'm at right now. So, do I make that jump, or do I gonna stay handcuffed, or what was it called? Do I lay on my pillow in my little prison cell, right? I mean,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
That I've kind of created. So
Okay.
that's where I'm at right now.
So let me kind of reflect back a little bit of what I'm hearing. So it sounds like, incorrect any of the words that I use, like it's time for change again,
Hmm.
because that has been a pattern in your life. Like
Yeah.
things run a course and then it's time for kind of like a new adventure,
Yeah.
using that word loosely, but
Yeah.
it seems like that's kind of a calling from within you as well. And
Mhm.
in the midst of that transition, you seem to have been called away despite everybody else's beliefs and opinions. There's different kind of like criteria in you for why you make these choices, and yet there's also a new kind of level of connection and community that you're finding and connecting to in the midst of this change. I mean, is that
Yeah.
kind of a fair set of summaries?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've never been one to kind of like jump the bandwagon, right? It's like, okay, if everybody's going this way, I'm gonna, my inquisitive's gonna ask like, oh, what's wrong with this way, right? Right? Why not take the road less taken, right?
Hmm.
To me, there's more adventure to it. There's more, how do you say it, discovery. Um,
Hmm.
but then of course, I think a lot of those decisions I made was, before I would say was like before I had a family and kids, right? And so now my decisions become harder, right? Because now I think about, oh, I got my three kids and then, another one on the way. Can I still be that adventurous type, or do I have to be more cautious in my steps? Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know, I almost feel like I just need to have that faith, right? That part of me that I have to like believe in and let go,
Hmm.
that it'll be all right. But instead of jumping in, I guess I'm being more cautious now, right?
Sure. Well, let me
Yeah,
jump in for a moment. Let me ask you a couple more questions, or let me start with this one. So, what it sounds like, and what I believe I'm hearing is, even though the way, the nature, kind of the context or the background of your life has changed, like you said, I've got responsibilities now. I have a family, and it sounds like obviously you love your family too. So it's not just like something that holds you down, but
yeah,
because of how your life has changed, the way in which you enact change has shifted, but you still feel the need for change, right?
hmm,
So let me ask you this. As you look at this kind of period in your life that now you're pivoting again, you're looking for the next transition. Oh God, there's like several different questions I could ask. What what is it like, what made the change happen at this point? Or rather, I hate it when I ramble like this.
yeah,
I could ask the question, what was no longer working for you that prompted the
mm,
change? Or what kind of change started you looking? What was it you were craving for or looking for? I know you said you weren't entirely clear what's next. How did you know
yeah,
it was time to change? That's the question I wanted to ask.
yeah. I think um, it makes me reflect back on so when I started this job I'm at right now, when I first started, it was awesome, right? It was like, pretty much I still get to fly, but it's more of my time, right? It's not like before when I was an airline pilot, I would be gone. They would send me for like on a trip for 3, 4 days. It's like, oh man. Now I still get to fly, but it's more my time. Like, it's like a 9 to 5 schedule, and then I can schedule with the people who I need to fly with. And it was cool. And then we also got to work from home. And it was almost like a dream job. Like, oh, I still get to fly on my own time and I'm working from home. You can't beat that. But I think when they I think you guys probably knew it, right? When we had a new administration, they kind of like took away the right return to office, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, mandate. And so when we started going back to the office, then I started to realize, oh wait, I thought I left the airlines so I can have more flexibility in my schedule, but now I'm back in the office. That flexibility is gone.
Mm.
Like, right? The whole point was to come here was to have the flexibility, but now I don't have it anymore. And then now I started to realize, like, wait, the whole draw for me was to have that flexibility that was taken away.
Mm.
And I guess that was the catalyst, right? That kind of started pushing, running that engine where it's like, okay, I think, the next change is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so yeah,
Seems like that's really kind of descriptive. Now I'm curious. I mean, and it seems like it aligns with your kind of gritty and adventurous characteristics. There's an element of kind of like freedom in there too.
yeah,
Would you say that's fairly consistent with the other changes you made? Before you had the family, when you moved from paramedic to flight attendant to pilot, was there an element in those transitionary periods as well of flexibility or
I would say, for airlines, right? Definitely, that would be the flexibility because like when you're on a trip, you're on a trip. Um, with the with I'm trying to think about paramedic medicine. I think I missed when I was a paramedic. It was fun, right, for the time,
mm-hmm.
but I also missed the traveling part. So that's what kind of
Mm,
brought me to the aviation side, right? And then in education, I was teaching. I again, right? It's almost like for me, it's almost like I felt like I hit my I guess I started to plateau, right? Because
mm-hmm.
like what I liked most, right? I guess when I think about all the professions, the thing I liked the most about everything I did was the growth, was the learning process, right? It goes back to learner, it goes back to inquisitive, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the best times I had, thing, my flying career was when I was learning how to fly, right? When it was all new and discovery, right? The best time I had was the paramedic was when I was a student, learning about, how to, learn about EKGs or how to, put a needle on somebody, right? Like that was the process. And then I feel like, yeah, I guess whenever I hit that plateau where I feel like I'm not learning anymore,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's like, man, you know, what's going on, right? Because I don't know, I feel like we're meant for more as humans, right? We
Mm-hmm.
weren't placed on this earth just to survive. We're meant to thrive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then that seems like the learning part of you really underscores a lot of it. Like the fun is in the
Yeah.
learning. Once the learning has kind of tapped itself out, you're ready to learn something new. And sometimes that means it's time to move on.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question before I go to the second of the five questions. As you're describing kind of this comma you're sitting on now, because here you're at this point again, right? Like the learning has been tapped. There's a new need that needs to be fulfilled. You're now ready to pivot. You're in the process of pivoting, but haven't quite figured out what the next kind of landing is. What else what is that like for you to be in kind of these pivot places when you go into that kind of transition? What do you experience?
Definitely feel like in the beginning it's like excitement, right? Like, wow, this is fun. This is cool, something new, right? But then there's also that element of fear too, like, oh man, right? I guess what I'm trying to think, it's funny. I guess before with the other jobs, it was more exciting, or maybe I can't think as far, as far back, but definitely when I pivoted from teaching to going to paramedic to medicine, it was more like okay, it's fine, right? Because I didn't have any 401k or retirement, right? I just was like, all right, I'm going to learn about how to be a paramedic. Okay, cool.
Mm,
And then when I did paramedic again, there was no career retirement. It was just like, oh, this is fun. Okay, let's go to aviation. And then when I left the airlines, definitely felt that like almost similar feeling to have now, right? Because it's like, wow, this is you're at the top, you're an airline pilot. Like, oh my gosh, like this is every kid's dream. Like, what do you, you know, like you're there. But then I guess I felt like, man, if I didn't, I can always come back, right? I always had that feeling.
Mm,
I can always come back, right? It's like it's not like I'm leaving this forever. Like if I didn't miss flying that much, I'll just come back, right? That was
mm-hmm.
the thing. And then now, I guess it's funny. I can always come back too, right? If it doesn't work out what I'm doing, right? You know. So I guess maybe it's almost like I create these this fear, right? Like that's like you know if you leave it, it's gonna be gone forever, but it's not. I mean,
Mm.
I can always come back. Yeah. So it's almost
It's
to create that false sense of fear.
yeah, well, I mean, you're kind of describing what the experience is like, but it almost
Yeah.
seems it seems like I mean, you can't not have fear, but your fear has a limit because there is this awareness in you that it's like, I'm not completely limited. I can always come back. So,
Yeah.
therefore, you know, the risk isn't as great as other people might feel like it is.
Yeah.
Knowing that I have a soft landing or maybe trampoline underneath me makes it easier to jump farther or be willing to risk the grab or what have you,
Yeah.
which kind of seems
Yeah.
like I don't know, I'm making stuff up, but like when we go back to comparing different styles of people,
Yeah.
maybe that is also another thing that you have that some other people don't have, which is why they are happy hanging on to, and that word almost sounds derogatory, but they are happy um, creating, building, and holding on to a particular profession for a long period of time or relationships and other kinds of things. Like maybe there's that element of not everybody is as confident in the soft landing or the trampoline underneath or that I can go back.
Yeah. And one thing that it came up to me, and as you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
I guess the the next destination, right? You know, doing coaching or creating something, something like that, right? I guess I'm unsure about it, right? Like like when I went from paramedic. So I went from teaching. Okay, then I went to paramedic program. From paramedic program, I went to um, aviation. For aviation, I went to I became a pilot. And the pilot I went to FAA. Right? There was always like a some kind of I don't know how do you say like a specific job or something that I went into. With
Mm-hmm.
coaching, it's like like it's so how do you say it's
Mm,
so broad, right? It's like it's almost like what is it? How is there a company I can go to? Right? I don't right
right.
right no right. It's almost you just I don't know. Is there? I'm not sure. Like it's like right. I have no
Yeah.
idea. So you right. You just
Well, the diff
almost kind of create yourself. I guess I don't know.
yeah, well, I mean, it seems like the difference there is right. Like with these other ones, you literally groomed yourself to go into a specific job, even
Yeah.
though you were training yourself in a profession, right, or a
Uh-huh.
role. With coaching, yeah, unless you were to find an organization that hires coaches,
Yeah.
which is
Exactly.
certainly possible.
Yeah.
But you haven't yet done that, and you haven't yet
Yeah.
decided, first of all, how far into it am I going to go? Am I
Yeah.
going to be in an employed role?
Uh,
Am I going to be in a self-employed or kind of contract role?
exactly.
So then you kind of introduce this element of there's the role, there's the job, like where does the income come from? What kind of
Hmm.
structure is it going to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the
Those
thing. It's like it's kind of that's the thing I guess like that the fear I have is like I have no I have a general idea where I'm going, but it's not specific, right? You know,
right.
right? Yeah.
Well, and those things aren't necessarily true all the time or in the same way about some of these other professions, right? But I wonder if now I'm just playing right now. I don't know. I'm asking you. I wonder if that is part of because it seems like every time you've pivoted, there's been a level up to it, right? Either the profession was harder or it required more training or, there was a higher level of compensation or many other things, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's true for you, that there's always like okay, the next challenge has to teach me something new and different. I wonder if that very thing you described is part of the level up for this pivot, is more vagueness, more uncertainty, more.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's that vagueness, right? The uncertainty, but it's also the same thing at the same time. It's exciting, right? Which is weird.
Mm,
It's that excitement and uneasiness at the same time.
mm,
Like jumping off the bridge, right? Or bungee jumping or
yeah.
skydiving. It's like I could die, but it's so exciting at the same time, right?
Sure.
Right?
Well, and again,
Yeah.
back to this adventurous and inquisitive thing. It's exactly like skydiving. I've done it twice. If there wasn't, I don't like to talk about the fear of death or the probability
Yeah,
of death, but like if it didn't come with that overwhelming sense of adrenaline and like what could happen, and yet the amazing things that could come from it, then everybody would be doing it. It wouldn't be that unique or special, right? So.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask the second of the five questions, and it's really kind of a interjection point where you can continue to expand on your story, or if this takes you down a specific path, that's okay too. This question might seem like it's kind of similar to the last one that I asked you, but it is slightly different. As you look at this comma that you've been describing that you're sitting on, what has it created or what is it creating for you?
It's creating opportunities like this, right? Like, like how we met, right? If I never had, right, I go back, if I didn't have to go back to work, right? I mean, soon not to work, so if I never
Mm-hmm.
had to return back to the office, I would have never had the idea to like, oh man, coach, I should think about coaching, right? And then think about coaching wouldn't have led me to going to the coaching conference, seeing you
Mm-hmm.
there, and us talking about this, doing this podcast, right? Another thing too, we shared about it when I saw you. Um, I was, I actually maybe 2 weeks ago I actually did a retreat with four other guys. So it was like five of us. We went we had like a 30-day retreat where the focus was on how to be, basically creating this kind of space for men to be vulnerable, to talk about their feelings and just be open. And it was amazing, right? It was like, all of us there and kind of figure out, what we're doing, but we created this space where men get to be there and just talk, and it was like fruitful. Like one of the guys said, like, this is exactly what I need. I don't have this, and he benefited greatly from that. Another guy was talked about how it made him, his emotional intelligence, really open up. And it almost like just reassured us of like, this is what we need. We need more of this. We need more spaces for men to be open, to be vulnerable, and to just share what's going on with their life.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Yeah.
curious. It seems like it might be a little bit tangential, but I don't think it is. You are in this pivot, this transition. You're looking for what's next, not only from a professional perspective, like what's the next job or role, right? But you seem to keep finding these connections, whether it's the men's group or it's, even just this conversation we're having today. What else do you think is in there that's calling you for the what's next beyond just the job or the role? Seems like there's a lot more to it this time. Or maybe not this time, but just it seems like there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's how do you say, like, it's like a call to action, right? I how do you say, I lean on my, another thing I lean on a lot too is my faith, right? Like
Hmm.
that's a big part of my life is that, okay, um, faith to me, right, doesn't have to be like you have to believe in this God, this, right? No, faith means to me is like just believing in something more than yourself, right? That's what I really
Hmm.
believe that faith is. It's about believing more than yourself and, you know, loving, that whatever it is, that the higher power, the universe, whatever you believe in, and also helping that other person, right? You know, that other man. And I, that's, I feel that. I feel like, I have a duty to help others, right?
Hmm.
It was actually talking to my wife actually, on our date night last night. We were talking about like sometimes I'm getting kind of busy with like my schedule because I'll have other men actually reach out to me just to have lunch. They want to schedule lunch or a meeting or coffee, and like I'm thinking like, man, I need to start charging these guys, right? Because I'm getting so busy, right? And there's I think to myself that there's got to be something that I might be doing right. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but maybe there's something that I'm doing that's working, right? Because
Hmm.
these men are reaching out to me and they want to sit and talk with me. And if I have something to give, why not give it, right? I mean,
Mm.
just like, being a pilot, right? It was awesome, right? I mean, I love being a pilot. It's so cool. I love to fly, but there was a point where I felt like when I was flying, I was just flying for the money, right? And I'm just flying, transferring these people, right? Going here, that's it,
Hmm.
right? There wasn't, I didn't feel like there was, a higher purpose for it. There was
Hmm.
actually, this could be a tangent, but kind of related. There was actually this organization called Mission Aviation Fellowship, right? Where it's like this. I think it's a Christian organization where they actually they take missionaries and then they fly them, they go to these remote countries and then they transport people like, either medical supplies or anything, right? They go and help these people out. And to me, that excites me. It's like, wow, I can use my skills that I have for something for a higher purpose, right? Like something,
Mm-hmm.
more than just making money. Of course, if I do this program, it's, I have to bring my whole family, right? My wife, she won't be, she's not too hot about that, right? But,
Right.
but that feeling I have, right, of giving back, of helping others, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I can't do it there, why can't can I let me do it here in my community, the people around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't fly, okay, this conversation, this talk, and just it's not about to me. It's like it's not about saying the right things. It's just almost just being there for people, right? Being there
Mm-hmm.
and just being that soundboard and listening to them, right?
Yeah. Well, and it seems like you're also exploring this thing that I'm noticing a lot these days and that I'm experiencing as well, which is starting to be able to unpack and experience like you do have work. You call it a job if you want. Like you do have work. There's this distinction between work and income. And typically, historically, those two things are the same thing and we call it a job, right? But
Mhm.
whether you're self-employed, I know a number of people who are self-employed, solopreneurs, and in this economy and with what's going on in the world, they've said, "Well, I've started thinking about do I need to get a job, right?" And and I had this realization myself when I was asking the same questions. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have a job. The issue isn't that I don't have a job, it's that I may not have the amount of income that I want. And so I don't say to myself, and I encourage them not to say, oh, I got to go get a job because it negates the work that they're doing. It's I may need to go and be somebody else's employee, or I might need to get, a salaried role or something like that. So in your case, what I'm seeing and hearing you say is I am getting busy. I am doing work. And quite frankly, this is the kind of work I would probably be doing if I was getting paid. So, how and when do I want to decide for myself how to bring the work that I'm doing and the potential for earning an income together? Because I'm hearing you say, I'm meeting with these folks who want to talk to me. I'm helping them. They appreciate the help. This other kind of philanthropic endeavor that it brings faith and flying together to help people, that's very exciting to me. I mean, there's no doubt that all of that is work, right? You're
Mhm.
just not getting paid for any of it right now. And
Yeah,
you're deciding how do I want all this to come together, for this next phase. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? That's what it seems to me.
yeah, no, it is. It's that point where it's like, I feel like, do I uh do I jump in or not, right?
Hmm.
Because you know people say like, oh, it seems like your job is flexible. You should be able to do both, right? And I think I talked about that, right? Like I can't. I'm not that kind of person that can do both, right? Like, oh, I
Mm,
can do the business and then have my other job. No, I gotta have to. I talked about in the beginning. I gotta jump in. I need to get obsessed. I need to get gritty, right? I need to
hmm.
go all in. I can't do it halfway. Um, and so yeah, I mean that's where I'm at. Where it's just like, do I jump in? Do I not? Right now it's like one
Mm,
foot in, one foot out. You know.
mm. Before I go to the third question of the five, what is that like for you? What is that place right there that you're sitting at like for you right now?
It feels like that I'm not living to my full potential.
Mm,
Right? I'm not right fully thriving, right? It's like I'm maybe surviving sometimes, maybe thriving sometimes, right? It's like it's not like, oh, this is it, like, oh wow, like this is the purpose. It's like, no, I gotta, I feel like, oh, I'm halfway doing my regular job and then halfway doing the job that I want to do, right? It's like,
hmm.
so yeah, you kind of like that in the middle, point.
Mm. Let me go ahead and ask this next question, and expand however you want to. As you look at this place you just described, this comma that you are sitting on, what have you learned or what are you learning about yourself?
Learning that, that I have to trust myself more, right? Um, I think no matter, my opinion, right? This is me, my humble opinion. No matter how successful you are, rich and material and spiritual, whatever you want to call it, doubt will be there, right? There's always going to be doubt creeping in, no matter what. And sometimes that doubt is louder, right, than that, than you want to hear it. And I have to lean into that, that trust in myself, where I feel like, yeah, I am, I'm doing the right thing, right? Um, I go back to that retreat we did with the men. It's like it was awesome, right? We had a great, we had a great experience, and the guys loved it. As a matter of fact, even before this call, I actually had another meeting with, one of the guys that I did, the retreat with. We want to do another one, or like a 1 day one in the Bay Area, right, in November. And it's like, wow, right? You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
building upon that momentum, that success, and it's kind of like it's like this is working, right? This is something that maybe I'm, you know, being called to do, or have a good an opportunity to do it, right? And yeah, I guess like kind of hearing that, leaning into that, and just being okay with that doubt being there, and just knowing that, hey, the doubt's there, but keep moving forward.
Mm. I hear two things. One of them is that doubt isn't the decider, and that the you're getting a lot of validation. And the
Mm,
things that you kind of just feel inclined to do, you're getting validation that those are the steps.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's like I try to tell my kid, it's like, you know, doubt, right? Fear, right? It's like the fear, as you get older in life, right? I feel like the fear doesn't get any easier, right? You just start recognizing the fear, and just instead of letting the
Mm-hmm.
fear control you, you just see the fear and say, hey, how's it going? Fear. And then
Mm-hmm.
you keep going, right? That's what it's
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's powerful. And I love how you framed it, in the kind of the age and experience piece, right? Like again, it comes back to like the more risks you take, or rather the more you're willing to go after things, even if it comes with risk or fear or doubt, like over time, the experience itself also kind of makes it a little bit easier for you to acknowledge the doubt and still do the thing that you want to do. And if you're fortunate, you may have already been doing those things earlier and sooner in life too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people, like, it's never too late, right? It's never too late to start a new
Mm.
dream, or to start, a new goal, right? Don't let the fear, right, hold you back, right? It's like, if it
Hmm.
doesn't work, okay, just do something else, right? And I know that's, of course, easier said than done. And everyone, what I've learned, and going back to learning again, is that what I've learned, and is that everybody is in a different season, a different place in life, right?
Hmm.
I had such a hard time getting, how do you say it, conceptualizing that concept. It's like, what? They can't do it? No, why? You can, right? But no, everyone's a different place, different season. That's another big thing that I learned.
Mm.
Yeah.
It,
Huge.
yeah, I'm going to self-reference for a moment. I really resonate with what you just said there, that everybody is in a different place because in a different season. Because I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that's changed for me in the last couple of years of my life and through some of my own experiences and so forth is I have stopped expecting people to be like me, in the same place as me, keeping up with me, wanting to go in the same direction as me. Like I used to be really invested in that. Like, oh, I've got
Yeah,
to teach everybody everything that I know so they can
yeah,
do all the things that I can do, and I just don't anymore because it's just not true. And
yeah.
if and when it is true, they will tell you, right? And then you
Hmm.
can. Let me
Exactly.
let me ask you the fourth question. Uh, what has changed for you, or what is changing for you as a result of sitting on this comma?
That's changed for me. Someone like what has learned, right? I'm thinking what has learned, but what has changed now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, what's changed for me is that I feel, that I'm on the right path, right? That just got to keep going, and keep moving forward. Um, it's every pivot, every transition, has its own story, right? It's not like
Mm-hmm.
It's not like this felt the same as this. No, it's like I got older. It was different places, different countries, family life, all this stuff. It's always changed, and yeah, I need to keep moving forward and know that I've been here before, right? I've been here before, even though it's different, but you know I've done this before, and if it doesn't work, pivot again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or go back or whatever, but you may not go back, but make that change, right? But just keep going where you want to go, and trust the process, right? So
Yeah.
cliche.
Well, and I was smiling and kind of laughing because I love seeing the reinforcement of the things that you had already shared, right? Like this is like the last ones. Like I can take the leap because I can always go back and even though it's another different change, I'm still using the skill sets and the capabilities and the inherent talents that I have to navigate the change, right? So there's the change itself, and then there's the me who knows how to go through change, and
Yeah,
that's what I saw you reinforcing in that response. Cool.
yeah.
Let me ask you the fifth question. What does getting off the comma look like for you?
Just getting off the common look like for me. I think it takes. I think it's gonna look like I think about the steps getting to it, but then you're asking what does it look like, right? So what does it look like? It looks like I'm thriving, right? I'm thriving, right? Like I said, not surviving and no, it looks like I'm thriving and living to my full potential, being there, right? And in this, it's not gonna get easy, right? I mean, who knows, right? Maybe I say I do jump in and 2 years later, oh man, hey, I think I'm gonna pivot again, right? You never
Mm-hmm.
know, right? But I think you said it before, like some people, that's okay, right? Some people know what they want to do. They pick a career and they do that for the rest of their life. Some people like this, they like that, they like to change, and that's their life, and that's okay. And I guess it was actually it's good to hear that, right, from somebody else, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes a lot of times I feel like I say that to people, but then they hear it from someone else and hear it to yourself. It's like, oh, well, it's true. Right? We don't all march to the same drum, right? We have our own drum that we march to, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, and yeah, but I think, where I'm at right now, I uh, I don't not living to my full potential, right? It's almost like I'm living half my potential, but taking getting off
Mm-hmm.
that comma will be freedom, right? Freedom to be me and to what is that quote? There's a quote I think by the Bhagavad Gita. I think one of
Mm-hmm.
the some kind of what is like I'd rather be somebody. I'd rather be myself than God, I can't remember. It's better to be your true self than to be some perfectly somebody else that you're not. Do you know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah, and I know
something,
so that's one of the holy books I believe in
yeah,
the Hindu faith.
and
And again,
yeah,
I'm not assuming I'm correct, but it's
yeah,
also consistent with other kind of like parables and
exactly,
and
yeah,
morals that we've heard before, right? Like
yeah.
something around it's better to be authentically yourself,
Self,
imperfectly and authentically
I think
yourself
yourself,
than inauthentically someone else.
exactly.
Something like
Yes,
that, right?
yeah. It's something. Yeah, they're not technically someone perfect. Yeah, exactly. No, you hit on a no. Yeah,
But
it's
but
like
why
you.
why does that
Yeah,
quote matter to you? Like what is it that's uniquely you about that or that you uniquely take from that statement?
because it's like I'm not where I'm at right now on the comma is not my true self, right?
Mm.
You're right. I'm not my true self. But getting off the comma, taking the leap, as I guess what we've seen throughout my life is my true self, the person that takes that risk,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right. And every risk I take, it's not like, that I've taken, right? It's, don't think I'm like gambling where like I'm putting $1 million on red, right? It's like
Right.
they're just strategically risk, right? They're risk that with, the strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, right? It's always been leveling up, right? Right? Yeah.
Can I jump in for a
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah.
So this is I'm gonna take a risk here myself. So here's what I believe I've learned about you today
Mm.
is that you are a person who likes a full cup, and if the cup's empty, you like to fill it up. once the cup's full, you're kind of, you didn't use the word bored, but you're kind of ready for a change. You'll empty the cup to be able to fill it back up again. Like that seems like it has shown up over and over and over in your life. So you like the full cup, you like the empty cup, you like the filling of the cup.
Mm,
So even though I know you said, and I'm not trying to correct you or anything like that, but it just seems like even though right now you feel like you're not living up to your full potential, that is authentically who you are because you're in the process of emptying one cup and filling up another one, which is kind of what you do and what you have done.
yeah, yeah, no, it's good. That's very very descriptive and powerful metaphor, right? What you just said, and no, it yeah, no, it's cool. I guess I never thought about that, like emptying the cup and filling it back up, right?
Mm.
You don't think of it like you always think about,
Or
right? Yeah,
drink it and fill it,
drinking
gulp it, or
exactly,
whatever,
yeah,
you know. But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it seems like, and this is me inserting my own points of view into it, so I apologize if it's inappropriate. But it seems like there was something you said there that was like, I'm not living up to my full potential, and that's not who I'm not being authentically me. And it was just an offer of a reframe that it's like, it seems to me like that's exactly who you are, and it's part of
mm,
your process.
yeah, yeah. No, it's very true. So I guess I'm in that pivot point right now, right? I'm I'm transitioning,
Yeah, you're well incubating,
Incubate,
creating, whatever word
creating,
you want to
right?
use for it.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
is gritty, right? It's
yeah,
gritty,
yeah,
like you said. Maybe it's a
yeah,
little dirty, sloppy, messy,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. No, it is, it is. It's
I'm
funny.
excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I am
And,
too.
and I was gonna say, I bet you are too.
Yeah,
Nick, obviously, there's so much more you could share with us, and there's so many more questions I could come up with. But all podcasts, have a window. So let's bring this to a close with a couple of things. And thank you for sharing your story with us today.
no,
And I love that you shared with us a "I'm right there now" story. We get a mix of people telling stories from the past or people saying, "Hey, this is where I'm at right now." And so I so appreciate it because that's where a lot of people are a lot of the times, right? Like I don't have a magic story with a bow on it. Like I'm right there now and going through it. If folks want to learn a little bit more about you, potentially connect with you, reach out to you, learn more, on their own, where can people find you? And I will put your links in the show notes so people can just click and contact you.
yeah. So you can reach me at my website, Gritsable. Um, I- yeah, you'll see the link on there. That's kind of a website that I had that, kind of what we talked about, the next transition, right?
Hmm.
And also I have my LinkedIn as well that you can reach me out, which, will be on the show notes as well. So please,
Perfect.
yeah,
Cool. And
yeah,
I definitely encourage you to reach out because obviously Nick is in a phase where connection and community is important. So, one last piece, one last thing before we wrap up is something we do in every episode because this podcast is really about giving people voices, being able to hear people's stories and kind of acknowledge people's experiences. Your story wouldn't be complete if we didn't also give you a chance to acknowledge people in your life. We call it acknowledgments because it's an opportunity for you to boost, give a voice to, or lift up others in your world. And that could be causes and organizations, it could be other creators, it could be important people in your life. And whomever you mention, I'll reference it in the show notes. Who would you like to acknowledge today as part of your story?
yeah. I think, the the three things that come to mind, right? It's number one, I got to, acknowledge my faith, right? I think if I didn't have my faith, right, I don't think I would, you know, be where I am today, right? To have that, it's almost like to, to me, I feel like something like an extra boost, right? It's like if I'm doubting myself, like okay, just lean into my faith, again, it can be anything, just something more than yourself, God or whatever you want to believe in, just kind of it centers me, it helps me to reset and just like okay. I, I'm starting to doubt myself. Like, can I get that little boost, that little belief, and like, and I feel like it helps me to, to keep pushing forward. So, gotta
Mm.
acknowledge my faith. Um, the second one would be my wife, right? She's definitely been a big inspiration to me. She's allowed me to pivot, right? To even though she doesn't always agree every time, but she still allows me, and which has been awesome. So I thank
It,
her, of
it,
course.
it
You
sounds
know,
like she knows you very well.
yes, yes, very well. And then the organization I talked about called F3, which stands for Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. That's just been an instrumental, organization. You know, like I said, it's more than just a workout group. It's men getting together, working out, then after that building fellowship, and then also we do a lot of community events. One of the events that we did actually last year and we're doing it again this year is a Thanksgiving, giveaway where we go to kind of a low income housing and we give them, Thanksgiving meals. Like last year we did
Mm,
over 300 meals that we served, and this year
nice.
we hope to do the same. And yeah, and that's what's about is it's just, you know, right? The three pillars that we talk about: fitness, take care of yourself, fellowship, building community, connecting, and then faith part, just living more to yourself, right? Giving back,
Hmm.
and that's really helped me in kind of my, I guess grow, my growth. Yeah.
Nice. Well, and I appreciate you sharing those, and every guest gets the opportunity to share, these influences, people, organizations who have such a big influence on them. So, thank you again for sharing your story with us today and joining our community of storytellers here at Off the Comma. We will look forward to following your journey and seeing kind of where this goes for you. And certainly, you and I will talk more off the mic, so to speak. So, again, thank you for coming and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
All right, have a good weekend ahead.
You too.
What an honor it is for me to hear and share these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way. Think about what you learned from this conversation. I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling or reflection, because surprises can reveal themselves to you when you write your thoughts down. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform and all social media at Off the Comma. Feel free to interact and comment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.